Hello, my name is Shawn Sanbrooke and welcome to Theme Park Worldwide's Top 10 Roller Coasters 2016 edition. Now in this video I'm going to talk to you about my top 10 favourite roller coasters from theme parks all across the world. Now as you all know, if you've been following the channel for a while, I've visited all the theme parks in the UK, loads throughout Europe, Spain, Germany, Sweden, Holland, all sorts of different countries in Europe, and of course quite a few of the parks over in the United States of America as well. Now obviously I'm based here in the United Kingdom. I travel out all the time to all these different parks, and I have experienced some absolutely fantastic roller coasters over the past 10 years of me being an enthusiast, and obviously for the past 5 years I've shared them all with you here on Theme Park Worldwide. Now I've done that many roller coasters that it's really hard to narrow it down to my top 10. Bear in mind, if you've watched the show and the vlogs, you'll know my sort of style of ride. I like something what's more than just a roller coaster. It's got to have something unique about it, some sort of an experience ride. So in this, it's completely my own opinion. This isn't sort of affected by any of the other vlog stars on Theme Park Worldwide. This is literally what I think are my top 10 rides right now. Now some of these might be a bit of a surprise to you guys. It's a bit of a surprise to me really. I mean, I thought about all the different roller coasters that I love out there in the world, and I wrote them all down, and then from there I sort of put them in some sort of order. Now this order can change, and it changes quite a lot. In fact, as I go out and experience more roller coasters this year, more new rides coming to the channel this year than ever before. So this will probably change again, but it's something I'm going to do annually. It's going to be something that I keep updating and doing a new one each year. So this is the 2016 edition of my top 10 roller coasters. Now I hope you enjoy it. How it's going to work is I'm going to sort of reveal them individually, starting with number 10, and then I'm going to gradually work my way down. Now all of these rides here, in my opinion, are absolutely fantastic. As I say, with all the enthusiasts, everyone has different tastes, and that's what makes being a theme park enthusiast fantastic. I mean, there's so many people out there that love coasters and theme parks now, and not everyone likes the same sort of ride. So in this, I'm sure you're going to get to see what I like, and some of you might think, oh well, that was an interesting choice to put there. But as I'll explain throughout the video, there is a reason why that ride has been picked to go into this top 10. You know, and there's so much more to it, and I explain my personal reasons behind some of these rides as we go on through. Right, okay, so let's kick straight in then with number 10 on the Theme Park Worldwide Top 10 Roller Coasters of 2016. Now first off, in at number 10 in our top 10 countdown is Sheikra at Busch Gardens, Tampa Bay, located in Florida. Now this is a B&M dive coaster that opened at the park in 2005, and when it first opened it was the tallest, fastest and longest dive coaster ever built. Of course that's since been beaten by other dive coasters, but yeah, it's a fantastic ride. It's also got a good length to it as well, at 3,180 feet, making it still one of the longest dive coasters there is out there. I absolutely love this ride. When I first rode it in 2014, obviously I walked into Busch Gardens, and there it is dominating the skyline at 200 foot tall with 2 vertical drops. It looks fantastic, a really nice colour scheme. And what I really like about this ride is the other unique elements that it has, like the water splash on the dive coaster, and of course some really nice scenery around the ride. It's sort of got some old sort of temple buildings around it. It fits in really well with the surrounding park landscape, and I love all the palm trees and the feel of it. And when I was riding it, it was just being sort of, the sun was beating down on me, and I thought, you know what, this is a really good, enjoyable dive coaster. Now with dive coasters, a lot of people either love them or they hate them. They're normally quite short rides, but Sheikra is fantastic with its 2 vertical drops. Really good. What makes it even better is the fact that in 2007 they took the floors away on the trains to make it a floorless dive coaster. Basically when it first opened in 2005 it did have the floors on. Didn't get to experience it myself, but I'm sure that quite a few of you did out there, so why don't you share your experiences below in the comments. But yeah, it's a fantastic ride. So each train has 3 rows. 3 cars per train with 8 passengers in each row, allowing for a maximum capacity of 24 riders per train, which is really good. Another interesting fact for you then on this one is, of course, it was the first dive coaster in the world to feature an inversion. There you go. Throughout this video I'm going to give you a few little facts what you might not have known out there as well with the coasters. But yeah, as I mentioned just about the trains, good throughput on there. Do I like the fact it has 3 rows? I'm not too sure, because I do on the dive coasters, you just got to sit at the front, haven't you, for the view. But normally on the back row, you do get quite a bit of air time, which is good, especially when you go down into the drops. But yeah, it's a fantastic ride, and that's why it's made it into my top 10. More the location of the ride, the sheer size of it is fantastic. And that is the reason why I'm putting that at number 10 in my top 10 countdown. There you go. Do you want one more interesting fact? Go on. Sheikra was also the first dive coaster to feature a 90-degree drop. So there you go, a couple of interesting facts for you about Sheikra, and that's why it's made it into my top 10 roller coasters. Might be quite a surprising one to start off for a few of you guys, but I'm sure you're now all intrigued to know what's going to come in the other 9 rides in the video. So under the other 9 rides then, let's move in to number 9 on the Theme Park Worldwide Top 10 Coasters. In at number 9, we stay in the state of Florida, but this time to Orlando and the Walt Disney World Resort. Of course, 4 fantastic theme parks there, and one of them is Animal Kingdom, which is home to our number 9 ride, which is, of course, Expedition Everest. Wow, where do I start on this fantastic ride? I absolutely love the whole feel and the theme of this attraction. So basically it's a custom family coaster which was manufactured by Vekoma. It opened at the Animal Kingdom in 2006. When you walk into Animal Kingdom and you turn the corner and you see Everest sat there, you think, wow, how is that theming? It's absolutely fantastic. The fact that the track was built and the whole mountain was built around it is absolutely fantastic. One thing that Disney does is, same what they do on the castles and all the parks, is make it look bigger than it actually is. Expedition Everest's track only goes to a maximum height of 112 feet, which I find astonishing. When you stand at the bottom and look up at Expedition Everest, you think, wow, that's a really, really tall ride. But in fact, it's not. Of course, the mountain's a little bit taller than the coaster itself, but not really by that much. It's absolutely fantastic, but it still makes it the tallest artificial mountain in all of the Walt Disney parks across the world, which is my interesting fact for you about this one. Might give you another one a little bit later on. So 4,424 feet of track on this, making it a really long ride. This is one of the reasons why I love it. Your station starts off just outside the mountain, and as you work your way towards the mountain, it's quite like a terrain sort of coaster before going up the first lift hill, and there you go through some fantastic theming, and then the ride begins at the top of the mountain. You head round, and of course it features the trick track as well, which basically you head to the top, you see that the track has been destroyed by, you assume, a Yeti, and then you reverse backwards down inside into the mountain. Later on in the ride, the switchback changes, you go forwards, and then it's a thrilling race around the outside of the mountain to get back to base and be safe. Of course, before you get there is a huge, what used to be an animatronic Yeti, which unfortunately no longer works, and they have a strobe light on it, but it still scares the hell out of people, and it's really fantastic. But like I say, the ride features an 80-foot drop as well, so it is a family coaster from Disney, but it also offers some fantastic thrills. Reaches a top speed of 50 miles per hour, and of course it has got the mid-course switch track and a reverse section as well. It's also listed in the 2011 Guinness Book of Records as the most expensive roller coaster in the world. Including sets and extras, the total cost for this ride was $100 million, which is a lot of money indeed. But I think it was absolutely worth it. I mean, yes, the mountain's fantastic, but there's so much more than just that. You walk around the queue line to Expedition Everest, and you start off going through like the temple buildings, and there's things like bells to ring in the queue line, really, really interactive. And then you go into an indoor section just before the station, and inside there's all the different artifacts from the mountain, like maps on the walls, Bigfoot steps and things like that in cages. You know, it's really, really good and fantastic to see. It's like a bit of a museum, and that's before you even get on the ride. And that is why Expedition Everest makes it in at number 9 in my top 10 rides. I absolutely love the whole feel of it, and it's more the theming. The coaster's fantastic, but it's the theming that really makes that. As I said at the start of this video, it's a complete experience that I really like. Yes, if the coaster's that good, it might make me feel like, wow, it doesn't need the theming, you know, to be amazing. I love just the coaster. But Expedition Everest makes it at number 9 because it's a fantastic all-rounder for everyone, and it really is a fantastic ride. Another interesting fact for you, go on then. It was also Disney's 18th mountain themed attraction. Bear in mind, across the parks all across the world, they've got things like the Matterhorn Mountain, Space Mountain, Big Thunder Mountain, all sorts of different versions of Big Thunder Mountain across the world. And there you go. That's the 18th one that they built. Of course, it's a fantastic ride, and I think it really deserves to be in my top 10 coasters. I love it, and of course I can't wait to be back out there in September of 2016 to go and ride it once again. That is it for number 9, Expedition Everest at the Animal Kingdom at Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida. But what's in at number 8? I guess we best find out. In at number 8, we head over to Efteling in the Netherlands for Baron 1898. So far in our top 10 countdown, this is the newest roller coaster to open, to have featured so far. Of course, Baron 1898 only opened last year in 2015. And what a fantastic coaster it really is. So basically, it's the second dive coaster to feature in the top 10 countdown so far. Of course, it's manufactured by B&M, the same as Sheikra, which came in at number 10. And it features 1,643 feet of track, which is considerably shorter than Sheikra at Busch Gardens. It's not the longest dive coaster out there at all. It's actually quite short. But what makes this ride is the theming. Now, if you've seen Baron 1898 at Efteling, you'll know absolutely how well themed this is. I'd go as far as to say is that it's probably the best themed thrill coaster there is out there in the world. Of course, things like Expedition Everest and stuff, yeah, they are better themed. But in terms of a genuine thrill coaster, B&M coaster, I would say this is one of the best out there, if not the best there is. So Baron 1898, it's got a 123 foot tall drop into a mist-filled tunnel, reaches a speed of 55 miles per hour, and it's got two inversions, both an Illman and a 0G roll. So with this ride, it all starts in the queue line. You leave your bags outside, which is the first unique thing. You'll start off by leaving your bags outside in the queue line, and then you get a little ticket to go inside. When you go inside, you'll watch a pre-show telling you all about the story, about the wise women all on the walls. It's absolutely fantastic projection mapping, and it takes you through the mine. And then you go into your second pre-show where you actually see the Baron himself up there in the top with some of the best themed air gates I've ever seen. Normally you're in the station, you see the air gates open, you can see the whole station. With this, the green light flashes, the doors open, and then it reveals to you the most beautiful station ever. It's absolutely fantastic. B&M have done some really good custom things to that station. Things like having the air gates programmed in. They're actual doors instead of actually having, you know, just some steel gates, which is fantastic. Also, to dispatch the ride, you'll see they have a lever to pull instead of just pressing a button on the wall, the button's onto the lever. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic, the fact that B&M went in and did the mods to that. Of course, it's a flawless dive coaster as well. When then doors open, you really are exposed, the floor goes down, and you go into the first scene. There's a massive sort of wheel on the right hand side which spins round, and then at the top you've got even more projection mapping where you see the wise women sort of coming out to see you, basically. The fact that you've disturbed the mine. It's got a really deep storyline, which is fantastic, and I love. There can't be another B&M coaster that's got a storyline as deep as Baron 1898. It is stunning. From then on, it turns pretty much into any old dive coaster. You go up the lift hill and suspend yourself on the drop, of course, before going straight down into the tunnel down that 123 foot tall drop. Here's my interesting fact for you though with this one. Look at all the dive coasters there is out there in the world. There isn't another one that is straight from the top of the lift hill down into the drop. Every other dive coaster in the world features a turn at the top, either left or right, but there is a turn at the top. That's my interesting fact for you with this one. This Baron 1898, straight up, across, and then down onto the holding brakes. But yeah, I mean, really good interesting fact about that one there. And that makes it quite unique. Obviously, off-ride, looking at Baron 1898, you've got the two wheels on the side of the drop spinning round. You've got the chimney, which has got smoke coming out. You know, it looks absolutely stunning off-ride. When you go around the inversions, I mean, the Illman's great, the 0G roll's great, but you can find them on other dive coasters. I mean, the fact that this has got the station and the area, which is so well themed, is what really makes it. Of course, the actual coaster itself hasn't got much theming around it. So if you look at Black Mamba, which is another heavily themed B&M coaster at Phantasialand, that has got some really, really good theming around the whole of the ride. With this, unfortunately, the theming does tend to stop after you come out into the zero-G roll. But of course, you know, it's still a fantastic ride. Like I say, you know, when you come into the Immelman, it's still nice. You've got all the mist effects and stuff. But after the zero-G roll, there's not really much when you go around the Helix and things. It is quite plain, quite barren. There you go, barren 1898. That it probably would have rated that up sort of higher in my rankings if it had a bit more theming around the rest of the ride. But there you go, it's fantastic. Really good ride. It's, like I say, one of the best themed roller coasters for thrill seekers there is out there, if not the best. That station is absolutely beautiful, and that's what makes it a number 8, barren 1898 at the Efteling in the Netherlands. Let's find out what coaster comes in at number 7. Wodan at Europa Park makes it into my top 10 roller coasters at number 7. Of course, it's a wooden roller coaster, the first wooden roller coaster to make it into the top 10 so far, and it's manufactured by GCI, or Great Coasters International, as they are fully known as. The ride opened at Europa Park in Rust in Germany in 2009 and features 3,444 feet of track. There you go, so it's quite a long GCI coaster, but when you're on it, oh boy, it is fast. If you've seen the POV from the ride, you know, you'll see absolutely how fast and thrilling this ride is. Of course, it's 131 foot tall, but a lot of this coaster is low level. Literally, as soon as you come down that first drop, from there on in, you keep quite low down to the ground. Yes, you do go back up and into a turnaround, but after that, you're literally through tunnels and underground sections, under pathways, over Atlantica Super Splash, which is the ride next door. It really is absolutely a fantastic, thrilling ride. But as always with my rides, there's something a lot more to it than just the coaster itself. Of course, it's got a good speed at 62 miles per hour. It features Millennium Flyer trains, which I absolutely love, but there's something a lot more about this ride that you may not know about. Now, queue lines at theme parks have always been something that would have been quite boring, especially for a ride like Wodan that might get very popular. Of course, Europa Park run it on 3 trains, which is fantastic. They're always up for the throughputs, of course. Europa Park is owned by the Mack company, who manufacture Mack rides, but there's something special about this. It's the queue line. Europa Park really spent so much money and thought about the queue line. It features so many different effects. It's basically got fire, it's got mist, it's got water effects, projection mapping. There's all sorts of things inside that queue line. It's absolutely stunning. The ride's sort of based on the goddess of death. Hal is also featured, and also has a sand timer statue right in the middle, so you'll see where the coaster goes at the lift hill, turns around before coming down the first drop. It's there, but underneath. You actually need to go into one of the extended queue lines. Of course, the fire in the queue lines there as well, that's on the outside. One thing about Europa Park, even if that extension isn't open to queuing, you'll still see the fire on in the distance. It's not turned off. Even though people aren't queuing there, which is crazy. Inside there's crystals in the wall. It feels like you're walking through a cavern. There's like sort of floorboards that rattle to simulate the train sort of going over. It's absolutely fantastic, and one of my favourite queue lines there is out there. And that's what makes it in number 7 in my top 10 coasters. I love it, it's brilliant, it's a fantastic wooden roller coaster. And there you go, that is Wodan. Of course, the ride station as well is something quite special about this. Like I say, it runs 3 trains, but what it also has is a really unique baggage system, the same as what they use on Bluefire Mega Coaster at Europa Park. It's basically, you put your bags on a shelf, and then when that train dispatches, the shelf lifts up, revealing another spare shelf. Once them guests come in, they take their bags, the next guest put them in, and then that one lifts up. So each train has a unique area for its baggage hold, meaning it's so much more secure. You don't need to rent out lockers, but you're also not just leaving your bags on the side of a platform. You know your bag is safe because that will not open until your train comes back in, which is really cool. Also in the station, you've got statues at either side at the top. As soon as the train dispatches, the heads will follow, and when the train comes back in after it's completed the circuit, the heads will also follow the train. Little things like that what are really good features, and that's why it makes it in here in my top 10 coasters. I would also say, and I'm going to say that for you now, it is my favourite wooden roller coaster, which you might find quite interesting, because there's been times when I've been on other wooden roller coasters and I've said, you know what, is it my favourite wooden coaster? The truth is, with wooden coasters, I really struggle to find one that I really think should be there at the top. However, the fact that Wodan is a thrilling fast ride, but also features a lot of things that I like, such as the station, the Millennium Flyer trains, the fire effects in the queue. I thought about this a lot and thought Wodan is my top wooden roller coaster. It sits there at number 7. So that means that the next 6 coasters, you know they are going to be steel coasters, or hybrid, but there you go. That's it, my number 1 wooden coaster. It's Wodan. Interesting pointless fact for you with this one is that 21,000 individual wooden beams were used in the construction, and they're held together by approximately 1.6 million nails. There you go, that's Wodan, GCI wooden coaster at Europa Park, in at number 7. We're getting down towards the halfway point now, but first let's go for number 6. Screaming its way then into 6th place, we head over to Anaheim in California for California Screaming, located within Disney California Adventure at the Disneyland Resort. Now this is an absolutely fantastic ride. It's an Intamin looping roller coaster, but it does only feature the one inversion. However, what it does have is 2 LSM launches, one of which is 55 miles per hour in just 4 seconds. What makes this ride fantastic is its length, 6,072 feet of track, making it the 8th longest roller coaster in the world and the 3rd longest steel coaster in the United States of America. So it's got a couple of good things backing this ride up. Other things that make it quite special is, of course, where it's located. Beautiful location at the back of the park in California Adventure. You've got the lagoon, Paradise Pier, where World of Colour happens, the big nighttime water show with fire, projections. That's awesome in itself, but having this coaster with the backdrop is fantastic. Not only is it used in the show with lighting, projections, but it's also great to ride at night anyway when the show's not on. It's lit up beautifully. There's all sorts of neon lights around the station, the entrance area, and of course, as you're going round the top of the attraction. Now, with it also being located quite close to the boundary of Disneyland Resort, you get some great views of both the parks and also Anaheim. So you're looking out and outside the park. If you look to your right when you're around the coaster going up the second launch, then you'll see you've got Anaheim, all the palm trees, and there's even a road just out the back there. It's a fantastic ride. Another thing that really makes this one of my favourite coasters, and one of the reasons why I've put it so high up at number 6, is the onboard audio. Things like that can really make or break a coaster for me, and having that audio on there really adds to it. You might look at it off ride and think, hang on a minute, it looks playing quite flat. It's really quite fast, quite a thrilling ride, and obviously it reaches a top height of 108 feet. Not huge, but it's good enough for what it does. It's got some good elevation, some really good forces, and the drops on it are great as well. But like I say, the loop's really intense. With that onboard audio going on in the background, it really makes that atmosphere whilst you're going around the attraction. It's like some sort of cheesy rock track, which is quite cool, kind of like Rock and Roller Coaster, that plays Aerosmith. This has got its own unique track, but I really like it. There's some really funny station announcements as well, which I'll let you go to the park and experience to sort of see that for yourself. Like I said, a brilliant ride. Trains can depart the station every 36 seconds. Intamin have always been known for doing great throughputs on their rides, but 36 seconds is absolutely stunning. Of course, it's got more, you know, quite a lot of trains on there running to be able to do that, and also some good block sections on the ride. Of course, having the 2 LSM launches, a couple of block breaks throughout the ride, means that, of course, it can run a lot more trains, which is fantastic. I'd love to see something like this in the UK. At a UK park, it would be fantastic to see. Interesting fact for you then, it's also the only inverting ride at the Disneyland Resort in California. So no other ride in both of them parks goes upside down, which is quite an interesting fact for you there. When you look at a park like Disneyland Paris, which has got Space Mountain that goes upside down, Indiana Jones, Rock and Roller Coaster, you know, there's a lot of rides that will go upside down. In both of the parks at the original Disneyland, there you go, there's only the one ride that goes upside down, which is California Screaming. Now, another fascinating fact, full of these for you today, is because Disney California Adventure is located adjacent to residential zones, they must adhere to certain noise restriction guidelines, meaning that special scream tubes are designed for California screaming to keep riders' screams inside the park. So you'll see when you look at this off-ride, you'll see at the top, above Paradise Pier, there's a few of these on the ride, there's some blue sort of steel works on the top. These are the scream tubes to keep the screams inside the park instead of going out into Anaheim. But there you go, that's an interesting fact for you. Also, when you look at this ride off-ride, you'll think, hang on a minute, it looks kind of like a wooden coaster, but it's not. Of course, you know, when you look at it, it's designed to make you feel like you're on an old school American pier, hence the name Paradise Pier, where the coaster is located. It looks brilliant. You stand at sort of at the back looking at it from World of Colour, and it looks like a wooden coaster. You would think, if you wasn't an enthusiast, that could be a wooden coaster. Obviously, we all know, you know, that it's not, but I like the way Disney can do that. They must have spent a fortune on all of that. It's fantastic, and it's really, really good how they've done it. One final fact for you then about this ride is when the loop for Son of Beast was removed in 2006, California Screaming became the longest looping roller coaster in the world. So there you go, from 2001 to 2006 it wasn't, but now it is the longest looping coaster in the world. So there you go, an interesting fact for you. But what amazes me, like I say, about that is riding it in the heat. The first time I rode it last year in September 2015, it took my breath away. You know, you're there in the sunshine, the California heat's blasting down, and there you go, riding along on this beautiful Intamin machine. I thought, you know what, this is definitely a top 10 coaster, and that's why it's made it in at number 6. California Screaming at Disney California Adventure Park in Anaheim, California. That is it. We've reached the halfway point. It's now time for number 5 in my top 10 countdown of roller coasters in the world. So for number 5, we're staying in California, but this time over to Six Flags Magic Mountain, home of Superman Escape from Krypton, or as it was originally known when it first opened, Superman the Escape. Now this is a reverse freefall coaster manufactured by Intamin. It features 1,235 feet of track on each side of the coaster. Bear in mind there is 2 sides to this ride. It's 415 foot tall and reaches 100 miles an hour in 7 seconds. Wow, what a ride, and that's why it makes it in at number 5. If you've seen the vlog from September last year, 2015, when me and the guys went out to ride this coaster, it took my breath away. It's taking my breath away now just thinking about it. Unfortunately, I didn't get as many rides on it as I wanted. I probably had about 10 rides on it, but I absolutely loved it. It's such a short ride. It's 28 seconds long, but oh boy, that is 28 seconds of pure adrenaline. And of course, in 2011, the ride changed its seating, so I never got to ride it originally, but it changed the seating so you actually face the ground instead of the sky. So bear in mind you're launching in 7 seconds to 0 to 100 miles an hour, backwards, and then you're going up the tower to 415 feet, and then you're looking straight down. Wow, I mean, yeah, I can imagine it was great looking up, and of course when it opened it was a really modern ride. Looking up to the sky, I'm sure it was great, but now the fact you're looking down at the floor, 415 feet, it's tall, it's absolutely amazing. Of course you get the views of all the California hills, but you also get some fantastic views of all the other coasters at the park, making it brilliant. So of course it opened in 1997, it was the tallest and joint fastest roller coaster in the world when it opened. It was joint with a similar ride at Dreamworld over in Australia. But there you go, 1997. To think that technology first came around then, the LSM system, that's the sort of, when that system sort of first launched. LSM is linear synchronous motors. So there you go, when I'm talking about LSM, that's now you know what I'm talking about. Linear synchronous motors. But what a fantastic ride. It's great to see that this attraction was placed right in the centre of the park. If it was put on the edge or at the front, it wouldn't have been quite as good in my eyes. The fact that it's right in the middle really makes this experience fantastic. In terms of theming, there's not that much going on to see. It's got a nice station area, got some really nice viewpoints, and that's why I rate it so highly. Yes, the adrenaline is absolutely stunning, but it also looks great off-ride. It sounds like you got a red arrow or some sort of fighter jet firing through the park from off-ride. It is so loud and it's so atmospheric. You walk around and you think, wow, that is Superman. It's a brilliant ride. I absolutely love it, and that's what really made Six Flags Magic Mountain for me. It's absolutely fantastic. There was quite a few rides there that I enjoyed, but this was absolutely stunning and top 10 for me, and that's why I like it. In terms of now then, it's the third tallest roller coaster in the world after Top Thrill Dragster at Cedar Point, and of course Kingda Ka at Six Flags Great Adventure. But it's number 3 at the moment. How long is it going to stay there? But how long are Top Thrill Dragster and Kingda Ka going to stay there? With rumours of these polar coasters popping up in Orlando and a couple of other places, how long are them rides going to stay, you know, world beaters? We'll have to see. But there you go. For now, number 5, Superman Escape from Krypton at Six Flags Magic Mountain. A brilliant ride that I absolutely loved. We're getting close to finding out what my top 2 rides are going to be. But first, we've got number 4. Here we go. Now, if you've watched Theme Park Worldwide for a while, you'll know how much that I appreciate and love heritage attractions, and that's why the Matterhorn Bobsleds at Disneyland in California makes it at number 4 in my top 10 coasters. I absolutely love this ride. If you saw the vlog from last year in 2015, when we went to ride this for the first time, I was absolutely amazed. I've wanted to ride this since I was a little kid. Now, the reason that I rate this so highly, yes, it's because of the heritage, but it's also an absolutely fantastic ride with brilliant theming, as I'll get onto in a moment. A little story about this one. When I was little, I remember reading this in a book, one of the first books that I ever managed to learn to read about theme parks. And there it was like the late 90s. I was there, I was like 6, 7 years old, you know, not 67, 6 or 7. You know, I was there reading this book, and there it was, and I saw this coaster themed around the Matterhorn mountain, and I thought one day I'm going to go out there and I'm going to go and ride that attraction. And there we go, that time was 2015. I went out there and I rode it for the first time, and it was a brilliant experience. It's really, really good. So more about the ride. It's manufactured by Aerodynamics, but it's also got something special because Arrow, of course, they're now a defunct company, that was their first proper roller coaster that they ever built, and it was the first modern roller coaster featuring Arrow's very uniquely designed tubular steel track, which has gone on to create, you know, rides that we all know and love. I mean, if it wasn't for that ride, we wouldn't see a lot of the roller coasters out there in the world now, and some of them might not even exist. They might have been created later than they was. It's all thanks to the Matterhorn and of course Aerodynamics for sort of creating that fantastic ride. Obviously back then they were known just as Arrow. Later there was all sorts of different things that happened to the company, but they later became Aerodynamics, but that's what we refer to them as in this video. I mean, absolutely fantastic coaster. When you walk into Disneyland, yes, you've got the castle, which is smaller than other Disney parks, but of course it is the original castle from 1955 at the original Disneyland. And then just off to the right, you see the Matterhorn. It opened at the park in 1959, 4 years after the park originally opened. And it was a big year for the park that year when they opened a few brand new attractions. But yeah, the Matterhorn was that signature new ride to open alongside the submarines and the park's monorail system. What it is, there's 2 roller coasters built within the Matterhorn mountain, which combines, you know, 2 fantastic ride experiences together. And they're not actually identical rides. They are very, very different. I mean, me personally, the left-hand side is absolutely fantastic. Say even looking at it from the queue entrance, the left-hand side, or as it's known internally at Disney, the Tomorrowland track is always better. However, on the right hand side, you've got the Fantasyland track. That's my personal opinion. Much like this whole video, it is my personal opinion. But yeah, in my opinion, I'd always take the Tomorrowland side over the Fantasyland side. However, it's fantastic. It gets long queues, because obviously it's not got an amazing throughput with it being an older ride. But for its day, 1959, you know, there's a lot of bobsleighs on there. It's absolutely fantastic. Both sides are 80 foot tall. However, interesting fact for you, the Fantasyland side is 2,037 feet long. Whereas the Tomorrowland track, which is my favourite, is 2,134 foot long. And like I say, you know, length isn't always everything, but I do think that really makes it on there, as well as it's got some more drops and some really good head choppers. It's absolutely fantastic. The ride's had a lot of refurbishments. Obviously it's an older ride, but it's had a lot of refurbishments over the years. So I'm just going to go through a few of the things, major significant changes that have been made to the Matterhorn over the years. So in 1978, new theming inside the mountain was erected. So obviously it wasn't plain when it opened, but it was plainer than it is now. You could see a lot of the steel work, and Walt Disney Imagineering, they moved on with the times, thought, you know what, let's spruce this attraction up. Nearly 20 years on, let's spruce it up. And that's what they did. In 1994, the Skyway closed, which passed straight through the mountain. You might have seen some images or videos before where you'll see a Skyway, or a cable car as it's known, in Disneyland. That used to pass straight through. And if you visit Disneyland at the moment, you will see the old cable car station is still there, located in Fantasyland. Next time you go to Fantasyland, opposite the Village House, you'll see it just there up in the hillside, the old station for the Skyway. So that was in 1994. When that closed, they had to patch up the mountain, so you didn't see a big hole basically going through the middle of it. And then the latest update came in 2015, where there was updated animatronics inside, the addition of the Yetis, which was they were sort of there before, but they weren't as animatronic as they are now, so to speak. They're absolutely fantastic animatronics, really, really good. Quite scary. I mean, I would say they're more scary than the ones on Expedition Everest at Animal Kingdom. But I love it, absolutely love it. It's also got some new projections on the lift hill, sort of behind a sheet of ice, which is really, really cool. Interesting fact for you about the Matterhorn. Now, this is quite well known, but I'm going to share it for those of you that don't really know the ride too well anyway. And the fact there's a basketball court located at the top of the mountain. I mean, you might be thinking I'm joking. I'm really not. If you do your research, you'll see it. There's several sort of stories about why the basketball court is there at the top of the Matterhorn. But the most popular speculates the basketball court was installed to adhere to Orange County's strict zoning regulations for large structures. Of course, back in 1959, basically Anaheim, the Orange County said, you know, to build something tall, it needs to be for sports purposes. So what Walt did, he put a basketball court in the top. How awesome is that? Would you get away with that in these days? I really don't know if you would. But like I say, it's only sort of a myth that that's why it's there. Is it there to sort of entertain the staff? Who knows? But that's the most popular choice to why that's there, and it's quite fantastic. But there you go. So by turning the Matterhorn into a sports arena, regulations were met by qualifying it as a large sporting venue. There you go. The Matterhorn Bobsleds coming in at number 4. Fantastic ride, yes, because of its heritage at Disneyland, and of course Arrow's first coaster, but it's an absolutely fantastic, thrilling ride that looks absolutely beautiful. Matterhorn Bobsleds at Disneyland. We're now coming into my top 3 roller coasters. Let's move straight in then with number 3. Yes, that's right, for the second time in this video, we go back to Europa Park in Rust, Germany for my 3rd favourite roller coaster on this planet. It is, of course, Blue Fire, which is a mega coaster that opened at Europa Park in 2009. Now, this ride features 3,464 feet of track, it's 124 foot tall, and reaches a speed of 62 miles per hour in 2.5 seconds. But none of that is what makes this ride special. What really makes it special to me is the whole concept of the Mack Mega Coaster. This was the first in a long line of Mack Mega Coasters to come off the production line from Mack Rides. Of course, Mack Rides do own Europa Park, meaning they got this prototype ride in there. And when it was first built, it looked insane because of the trains. The trains are fantastic. There's no over-the-shoulder restraints. There's no size to the trains. It's literally a seat, and then you've got one sort of bar that comes down the side, and then your lap bar which goes around you. Fits comfortably, but there is quite a bit of room still as well. I mean, you're not really pushed into it too much, which is great. The freeness on this train is brilliant, along with the combination of onboard audio. It's even got heart rate monitors on each seat, and of course, an indoor dark ride section, which isn't just a little bit inside. It's a good sort of minute before the ride even launches out, where you're immersed into the station and the theme of sort of energy and power. So as you're going round before the launch, you know, you see all these different visual effects, computers flashing, red lights flashing. All of a sudden, alert, alert, there's emergency, the doors open, the smoke comes out, and bam, you launch 62 miles per hour into a fantastic overbank, which is brilliant. 4 inversions in total in the ride, including an 105 foot tall loop, a twisted horseshoe roll, and some inline twists. I mean, it's brilliant, absolutely stunning ride. What also really makes it is the head choppers. When you go around, of course, you've got these lap bars, so you've got the freedom. When you put your hands up, there's nothing restricting your shoulders. You can practically touch the rock work. It's amazing because in the queue line, you walk through this rock work, and then once you're on the coaster, you fly through the top of it. Really, really good head choppers. Probably some of the best head choppers there is out there in the world. Obviously, Terran's opening this year at Fantasyland. That looks stunning. It's a coaster from Intamin. The head choppers on that look insane as well. Are they quite as close as Blue Fire? I'm not too sure, as when this video was filmed in March 2016, the ride had not opened yet, but we'll have to see when that does open, and of course we'll give you a review on the channel when it does. Here on Theme Park Worldwide. Blue Fire's Loop is the tallest on any launch coaster in Europe, and Blue Fire's Twisted Horseshoe Roll is the first to be found on any coaster in Europe, and the first on any Mack roller coaster. So there you go, a couple of interesting facts for you that I've shared with this coaster. It's brilliant. I mean, it's absolutely stunning. As soon as you enter that queue line, you've got the start of the theming, talking about the energy, you've got all the projections around you, you've got the water sort of shooting over the pathway right at the entrance, you go through the work, and then you go inside the main station building itself, which has got some really good theming in there. I love it. It's the combination of where it is, the track colour, which is blue, with silver supports, the onboard audio, the dark ride section, the heart rate monitor, a launch coaster. It's smooth, one of the smoothest rides I've ever ridden, and that's what makes it so high in my rankings. Number 3, Blue Fire, the Mack Mega Coaster at Europa Park. It's brilliant. If you've not been out there to see it, you want to go and try it out. It's come to the final 2 coasters. I'm sure there's a few of you out there that might know what is going to come in on these 2 coasters, but what order are they going to go in? That is the question. It's time for number 2 on my top 10 roller coasters. Here we go. Straight in at number 2 is Helix at Liseberg Amusement Park, located in Gothenburg, Sweden. Now, of course, I've just spoke about Mack Mega Coasters and how much I love them. Blue Fire came in at number 3. Why Helix has come in at number 2 is the fact it's got a second launch, it's got more inversions, it's in a much better landscape, and it's just absolutely out of this world coaster. When I first went to ride it on opening day, which was in 2014, I was on like the 4th ever public train, and I thought, you know what, I can't wait to ride this. The previous year I'd been out to Europa Park, I'd been on Blue Fire, and I wanted to go and ride this ride. I went to ride it and I thought, oh my god, this is absolutely stunning. 4,530 feet of track, 130 foot tall, but it's on top of a hillside, which makes it stunning. You can see this coaster from a couple of miles away. When you're in Gothenburg, you can see it up there on the hillside. It looks stunning. Reaches 62 miles per hour, which is pretty average in terms of launch speeds nowadays. But again, it's not really the launches what make this ride. What makes it unique and why I rate it so highly is the fact it's located on the hillside. The fact that Liseberg designed it to feature, you know, all these different elements all around the hillside between existing rides. I mean, you've got the Liseberg Bannon, you've got Swing It, you've got all sorts of other rides on that hillside. Yeah, they've managed to fit it on. I mean, Liseberg Bannon's a huge roller coaster on that hillside, and it intertwines with that, intertwines with other rides. It's absolutely crazy, the fact they've managed to fit it into so much space. It might not necessarily have a lot of theming around the ride, and the stage is not particularly heavily themed, but what it has got is a really nice modern feel. It's based on the game. A game was created along with it, and you actually play the game, which interacts with TV screens in the queue line, which I love. It's got a really modern feel to it. It might not have loads of rock work and theming around the ride, but it really doesn't need it. This is a much better standalone coaster than pretty much everything out there. I absolutely love it. The fact it's got that modern theme, it's finished off really well. Yes, the station's got quite a lot of concrete and stuff in, but it's got lots of lighting, a fantastic soundtrack from I'm a School, making it like a clubby rave ride, which is brilliant. I mean, it's absolutely stunning. The station itself, again, modern, it plays a bit of a different theme in there. And with this coaster, you're straight out into your first inversion. Talking of inversions, 7 of them on this ride, 2 corkscrews, a Norwegian loop, a 0G roll, inside top hat and an inline twist, making it absolutely stunning with inversions. Blue Fire, don't get me wrong, that is a brilliant ride and that's why it sits at number 3, but this really took the Mack Mega Coaster to the next level for me. I absolutely adore it. It's so good and it's so close to making it to number 1. I mean, there's so many reasons why I would have put this in at first place. But as you'll see when I reveal the number 1 ride in a few minutes, you'll see why that's there, and I'll explain exactly why that coaster's there for me. But there you go. Interesting fact about Helix. After California Screaming, which has obviously made it into the top 10, it's the 2nd longest roller coaster in the world to feature inversions. There you go. So that's an interesting fact for you. Like I say, Helix, it's stunning. If you get out there, you'll see how it's on the hillside, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's gorgeous. The track's green, it blends in with the hillside, and it's a great ride. At night, it's even better with all the lighting in the station and on the ride. It's got some really bright headlights on the front, lighting up the track, nice LED lights down the side of the trains. It's absolutely stunning, and it really is a fantastic terrain coaster, and that is why Helix makes it in at number 2. We've gone through my top 10 favourite rides. As I said at the start of this video, it was going to be really hard for me to put this together. A lot of you out there had asked for it, and I thought, you know what, of course I like to listen to the fans of the channel. I'm going to deliver this video. It's been hard, and no doubt this year in a few months time, these top 10 coasters could be shifted right around as I ride and experience more attractions throughout the 2016 season. But here we go, it's come to the point of my number 1 roller coaster currently out there in the world. It was so close between Helix and this number 1 ride, but I'm sure when I explain about it, you'll see why I absolutely adore this coaster. Let's go to my top roller coaster of 2016. I have spoke about this coaster so many times, I've recommended it to so many people, and so many of you have been out there to experience it. It is of course Shambhala Expedition of the Himalayas, located at Portaventura in Salou in Spain. What a fantastic ride this is. It's a hypercoaster manufactured by B&M, but to me there is so much more to it than just that, as I'll get into. So when Portaventura announced back in 2011 that we're going to be opening a big new ride, they said it was either going to be a flying coaster, a dive coaster, or a hypercoaster. I thought to myself, well, I'm not really that keen on flying coasters. Dive coasters, there's quite a lot of them out there now, but hypercoasters, I'd love one. And luckily they went for the latter. They did open one in 2012. And this ride, the first special reason for me with this is, of course, it opened on my birthday. It opened on the 12th of May, which is my birthday. You know, 12th of May 2012, and I was there on the first public train on the opening day, and what a fantastic time I had. I went out there with Jack from the vlogs. We absolutely loved it. It was brilliant. And what an amazing coaster. We were so lucky to be there on that day. Of course, secondly, why I love it so much is because I followed it. You know, I was out there every couple of months watching this thing being built and watching it go up piece by piece, and it got me really excited. Third, it's a fantastic coaster. Airtime is fantastic. I'll always take airtime over inversions because I love that feeling of being pushed out your seats. If you've been on a hypercoaster from B&M, you'll know how much their coasters push you out of their seats, especially with the restraints they use. Of course, they use the clamshell style restraint, which is a lap bar, no over the shoulder restraints, and you literally, when you're going over them camelbacks, it's pushing you out like there's no tomorrow. It's absolutely stunning. 5,131 feet of track. It's got a 255-foot drop and reaches a top speed of 83 miles per hour. So it's a really fast coaster. It's also the tallest roller coaster in Europe. But that's only for now until 2017, when Portaventura are going to break their own record by building the 367-foot tall Intamin coaster in Ferrari land. So I look forward to seeing that. Will it be a Shambhala beater for me? I really don't know, but this ride, I've got the connection with. I love it to bits. Shambhala is fantastic. Like I say, I'll always take airtime over inversions, and this has got plenty of airtime with it. So basically, you'll come out of the station, climb up that lift hill, down that first drop, 86 degree first drop on that, straight into a tunnel. What makes this special as well, it doesn't drop and then stop when it gets to the land. It takes you down straight into an underground tunnel and back out the other side into the first of 5 camelback hills, before a figure of 8 like ampersand. Then you come down into a small airtime hill, a water splash, and then a couple more airtime hills before coming round, bending back round into the brake run. This is absolutely awesome, a brilliant coaster. Now in terms of the theming, the station's nice. It's not the nicest station I've ever seen, but it's got a nice sort of feel to it. But what I really like is when you turn up into the Chinese themed area, you see Dragon Khan, and the interaction between Dragon Khan and Shambhala is great. I was worried when they were building this that it might not look very good with having Dragon Khan there and then a hypercoaster above it. Of course, Dragon Khan's another B&M coaster. It's a B&M sit-down coaster. That opened in 1995 at Portaventura when the park originally opened. But this obviously came in 2012, so a number of years later. I was worried how it was going to look on the sort of landscape. When you walk into Portaventura now, you see the Mediterranean lagoon in their Mediterranean area, and there it is at the back of the park, Shambhala. and it sits there gracefully looking over the park. What a brilliant location it's in. Everywhere you look at it from inside the park, it looks stunning. From outside the park, it doesn't look that great. If you go around Salou and all the different areas, it doesn't look that good. But inside the park, they really thought about how it looks. You go right up to the Great Wall of China, and there it is. You see Dragon Khan and then Shambhala towering right above it. The coast is actually set back, another interesting fact for you, to make it look higher, even higher than it actually is. Of course, it's already it's tall, 255 feet, but to make it even higher, they placed it back slightly from Dragon Khan. And so it looks even taller when you look at it from a distance. So there you go, another interesting fact for you. I mean, it's a crazy ride. It's stunning, filled with airtime, and it's crazy. I absolutely love it. Shambhala, theming wise, is great. The splashdown, you got some really good interaction around the area. You walk into the area, you've got the massive Shambhala sign, all the different theming. There's like a jeep at the side, there's like a scroller which has got the history of sort of the area and like a dedication plaque, and it's got some great theming around the ride. When they opened the Splash Battle a couple of years later at Portaventura, you actually got to go for the first time around the back of Shambhala and gets up close and personal to the back of the drop and sort of like the ampersand, the figure of 8, and you get some really nice shots from round by the Splash Battle of Shambhala, which is great. So that even enhanced it even more. It might not have loads of theming around the ride, but it has got some good theming around the pathways around the ride. So when you're actually walking around the ride area, you actually get to walk pretty much under the whole thing now, which is brilliant. I love it, and that's another reason why it rates so highly, you know, as it has done. I mean, I love Helix to bits, but there's something about Shambhala what meant that it still had to go right at the top for me. I'm sure one day there's going to be a ride out there that tops it for me. It could be this year for all I know, but there you go. That is it, Shambhala. Do you want a couple more interesting facts before we end the video? Well, there you go. Some of the coaster's foundations are 18 metres deep. Yes, 18 metres deep. The roller coaster currently holds 3 records. It's the tallest, the longest drop, and the fastest hypercoaster in Europe. And all 3 of those records were held by Silver Star over at Europa Park prior to Shambhala's opening. So, of course, Silver Star at Europa Park, that is also a hypercoaster from B and M. That is Shambhala, and that's why it fits at number 1. There you go. A lot of you asked me to do this video. It was so hard to film, so hard to decide what I was going to decide on to be in that top 10. And there you go. There's so many rides out there that I've loved what just haven't made it into the top 10. But for all I know, I could ride some other rides and they could come in and replace things that are in there now. This is something that's going to keep changing, but right now, as of March 2016, that is how I feel about them, all them rides. The top 10 roller coasters for me, Shawn Sanbrooke from Theme Park Worldwide. I'd like to thank you for watching this video. Yeah, it's been quite a long one for you, but I really hope you've enjoyed sort of seeing a bit of an insight into these rides. Not just me telling you that they're my favourites and why. You know, sort of a bit of facts behind the ride, and of course a few interesting facts that I've mentioned for each of the 10 roller coasters that have been featured. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed 2016 here on the Theme Park Worldwide YouTube channel in our 5th birthday year. For all the latest theme park news, you can tune in every Wednesday for Theme Park Worldwide, the show here on the channel, where we share all the different latest developments throughout theme parks in the world every Wednesday evening. Thank you very much for watching my top 10 roller coasters. Of course, keep an eye out for even more unique videos on the channel throughout the year. And that means it's time to cue those credits. See you later, guys, and thank you for watching.